Welcome back to the session, children. In this one video, you'll get Unit 1 and 2. Let's move on to the session.
The best Christmas present in the world. This story is about a beautiful incident that took place during the First World War. He is the narrator of this prose, Michael Marforgo. These are the characters in this prose: Connie, Mrs. Jim Macpherson, and Mr. Macpherson. He is an army man. And third one is Tommy. Tommy is the name for the British soldiers, and Fritz is the name for the German soldier. Now let's see the chapter. The author went to a junk shop in Bridport. He noticed a roll-top desk. It was very old and made of oak. It was in a bad condition. It had burn marks down one side. Since it was cheap, the author decided to buy it and get it repaired. He began working on it on Christmas Eve. He removed the roll top and tried hard to pull out the drawer. It had suffered much damage due to fire and water. The drawer was jammed. He hit it hard with his fist and pulled it out. He found a secret drawer underneath. He took out a small black tin box. He finds a letter inside the tin box written by Jim Macpherson. He found an envelope with the address Mrs. Jim Macpherson, 12 Copper Beaches, Bridport, Dorset. The letter was dated December 26, 1914. The author began to read the letter. It was written by Jim Macpherson, a captain of the English Army, to his wife Connie. Jim Macpherson, a captain of the English Army, to his wife Connie. It was a narration of an incident that took place on the battlefield in 1914 on Christmas Day. Jim Macpherson was a soldier sent against the Germans during the First World War. Jim Macpherson had narrated a beautiful incident that took place on the battlefield on Christmas Day. It was Christmas Day and the English and Germans were at war. Jim wrote to her that he was very happy because something wonderful had happened. The soldiers on both sides of the no man's land were taking up positions in their trenches. It was Christmas morning, cold and frosty. Jim saw the German soldiers waving a white flag. They were calling out the English soldiers to say Happy Christmas. It was a big surprise to be greeted like friends by the enemies, but it was true, not a trick. The English soldiers also wished them in return. The leader said that they wanted to celebrate the festival. Jim was the officer in command. He allowed his men to join the Germans. Grey coats and khaki coats mingled in the middle. In the time of war, they were making peace. The German soldier who came first was named Hans Ulf. Before joining the army, he used to play the cello in an orchestra. Jim had been a school teacher in Dorset, but Hans lied that he knew Dorset well. In fact, he had read about the place in Hardy's novel, Far from the Madding Crowd. The soldiers from the rival campus smoked, laughed, drank and feasted. Hans said that he liked the marzipan, the sweet covering on Jim's bread. Jim wrote in the letter that he had never seen or imagined a Christmas party like that. They played football also. Both agreed on one time. The countries should have better resolved their disputes by playing a football or cricket match, because no one dies in a match, whereas war leaves behind orphans and widows. The game was finished, so did the drinks and cakes. Jim told Hans that they hoped to see families as soon as the fighting ended by Christmas next year. After reading the letter, the author decided to return the letter to Mrs. Macpherson. He went to her house in Bridport, Dorset, and found that it was burnt. Connie was now 101 years old, was inside the house at the time of the fire. The author comes to know that Mrs. Macpherson is in the nursing home. He finds her sitting on a chair there. When he called her Connie and written the letter to her, her eyes lit up. The author wished her happy Christmas and gave the letter to her. She recognized the writing of her husband and felt very happy. She mistook the author for Jim, who had come home as promised on Christmas. She kissed the author on the cheek and asked him to read the letter to her. She wanted to listen the voice of her husband. She said that Jim himself was the best Christmas present in the world. Let us see the summary of the prose, The Best Christmas Present in the World. The Best Christmas Present in the World is a story by Michael Marpergo. In the story, the author buys a roll-top table from a junk shop and to restore it, starts working on it on Christmas Eve. While repairing it, he finds a secret space in the last drawer. In that secret space was a small tin box. He finds a letter inside the tin box written by Jim Macpherson, a captain of the English army, to his wife Connie. It was a narration of an incident that took place on the battlefield in 1914 on Christmas Day. On that day, the German and English soldiers were celebrating Christmas together, forgetting the rivalry between them and also that they were at war. They shared wine and food. Also, they played a football match and sang carols at night. The author took this letter to Mrs. Macpherson to the hospital and gave her the best Christmas present in the world. Children, what did you learn from the story? See that the story states that war brings only destruction and sadness in the world. Only the path of peace will lead us to the happiness and welfare of mankind. Fighting one another is not the right thing. So to lead a good life and peaceful life, don't fight with anybody else. That's all about the story. I hope you would understand this prose. If you have any doubt, ask me. Let us see the new words in this chapter. The first one is veneer. Veneer means a thin decorative covering of plastic. And second one is Tommy. Tommy means a name for a British or English soldiers. Third one is Fritz, a name for a German soldiers. The next one is Schnapps. Schnapps means a kind of strong alcohol. The next one is cello. Cello means a four-stringed musical instrument, for example violin. The next one is frosty. Frosty means cold or chilly. That's all about this chapter, children. Then next one is grammar portions which has given in the prose the best Christmas present in the world. Before going to discuss about the book back grammar exercises, first we will learn grammar portions and we will use in the exercise. You have already known the word verb. So let us see the definition and its types and its usages. Okay. So see the definition of verb. A verb is a word that expresses an action or a state or an existence. In a sentence, we can easily identify the verb because it shows an action or else it might be a fact. See the first example. Nirbhay swims in the swimming pool every day. Here swims, it is an action. It shows an action. So this is the verb. See the second sentence. The water is cold. The cold is means what? It shows the state. Is. That is the verb. The third one. The great pyramids are in Egypt. In this sentence, or is the verb. This sentence is about the fact. The great pyramids are in Egypt only. So it is a fact. So or is the verb.
See the next sentence. I think it's nice. Here it shows the feelings of the person. See the types of verbs. Verbs are of two types. They are main verbs and helping verbs. Helping verbs are having two classifications. They are primary verbs and modal verbs. Let's see the main verbs. All the verbs which express action are the main verbs. According to their usage, they are classified as transitive and intransitive verbs. The word shows an action or expresses action. That word is called the main verb. Okay? In this main verb, it classified into two. What is that? Transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Do you understand what is main verb? Yeah, main verbs are express action or else it shows an action. Okay, this main verbs, according to their usage, it has classified as a transitive and intransitive verbs. Let us see what is transitive verbs. Transitive verbs are those which take an object. Their action is transferred over to the object. Okay, see the example. Arav reads newspaper. Here reads is the transitive verb because their action is transferred over to the object. Here which is object? Newspaper is the object. The action is transferred over to the object. So reads is the transitive verb. Intransitive verb. Intransitive verbs are those which do not take any object. The action is limited to the subject only. Okay, so the verbs play, read, write, watch, show, cook, start, etc. are the transitive verbs. See the example. The baby is crying aloud. Who is crying here? Baby. So in this example, crying is the intransitive word because it shows or else the action is limited to the subject only. Okay, who is crying here? The baby is crying. So the baby is the subject here. So the action, the crying, the word is limited to the subject only. See the verbs like sleep, run, cry, weep, smile, laugh, go, walk, come, tired, etc. are intransitive verbs. However, some transitive verbs can sometimes be used intransitively and vice versa. See here the tabular column has given and it shows the comparative between transitive and intransitive verbs. See the first one, first column, verbs used transitively. See the first example, she sang a nice song. See the next column, verbs used intransitively. She sang melodiously. Okay. In this example, sang is the transitive verb because the action transferred over to the object. So here sang is the transitive verb. See the next one, she sang melodiously. In this sentence, sang is the intransitive verb because the action is limited to the subject only. Look at the second example. Dr. Gupta runs an organization for old people. Here, runs is the transitive verb. Their action transferred over to the object. Here, object is what? Organization is the object. So, runs is the transitive verb. Look at this column. He runs very fast. Here runs is the intransitive verb because the action is limited to the subject only. Okay. Look at the third example. Gauri is reading a comic. See here, reading is the same transitive verb only because the action transfer to the object. Here object is what? Comic. Now you can say the last example. You can identify the last example. Okay. Next one is helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. See that there are 24 auxiliaries in English language. These are further classified as primary and modals. In helping verbs or auxiliaries verbs, first one is primary auxiliaries and second one is modal verbs. See the first one, primary auxiliaries. Verbs such as am, is, or, was, were, do, did, have, etc. are used with other ordinary verbs to form tenses, passive voice, questions, negative sentences, etc. See, helping verbs or auxiliaries, these are classified into two. First one is primary auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries means verbs such as what? Am, is, or, was, were, do, did, have, etc. Okay, these verbs to form what? Tenses, passive voice, questions, and negative sentence, etc. Okay, look at the example. First one is Radha does not trust Krishna. Here does is the what? Auxiliary verb. And then second one is they have worked for a hour. So for have is the what? Primary auxiliary. Okay, look at the second one, modal verbs. Which is modal verbs here? Verbs will, shall, would, can, could, might, etc. are the modal verbs. Here the modal verbs are used with main verbs to form sentences expressing permissions, orders, obligations, requests, etc. So you can easily identify the helping verbs in the sentence. Now next one is conjugation of verbs. This is nothing but it shows the verbs in the form of past tense, present tense and future tense. Next one is conjugation of verbs. The conjugation of verbs is nothing but these are three forms of verbs, which is present tense, past tense and past participle. Look at these verbs. The word in the present tense form, past tense form and also in the past participle form. Okay, this I will give you as a PDF form and you just write it in your classwork note and learn this table. Okay.
Next topic is about past tense. Simple past tense or past indefinite tense. So it is used for actions that were completed in past. You can easily identify the past tense. Let us see the example. Radhika completed Ncert last year. She has completed. Completed is the word which indicates the past tense. See the next example. We watched Main Hoon Na on Saturday. Watched is the what? Past tense. It indicates the past tense. See the next example. See the sentence. Gurpreet shuffled the cards and distributed among all. Here past tense is the what? Shuffled and distributed. See the next examples. It shows the past habits. First example is Sanjana rode Royal Enfield during college days. When she was studying in the college, that time she what? Rode Royal Enfield bike. In this sentence, rode is the past tense. It indicates the past tense. Rode is the past tense word for ride. Okay. Chirapanchi received the highest rainfall earlier. In this sentence, received is the what? Past tense. See the next one is how to form the negative sentences with the use of past tense. See the structures. How should be the structure for the negative sentences with the use of past tense? Subject plus, which means a structure. See the structure. S plus, did plus, not plus, verb 1 plus O, which means what? S means subject. Here subject plus, did plus, not plus, verb 1 plus object. See the example they have given. They did not take their study very seriously. In this sentence, they is the subject. Did not plus verb 1. Verb, which one is verb 1? take their study is the verb 1 and object is very seriously. Okay, verb 1 is present tense in the sentence and verb 2 is past tense in the sentence and verb 3 is past participle in the sentence. First understood this. Okay, next one is interrogative structure. Did plus subject plus verb 1 plus object plus question mark. Okay, see the example. Did they take their study seriously? First, did plus they is the subject and take their study is the what? Verb, and seriously is the object. Next one is past continuous tense. See that the action that was continuous at a certain time, which we are talking about in past continuous tense, is always accompanied by another sentence in past tense or a word or phrase mentioning the time. Sometimes it is used with another sentence in past continuous tense also. For example, Suraj was playing with his cousins when we went to his home. See, Suraj was playing with his cousins is the past continuous tense. Is talking about the past continuous tense and is accompanied with the another sentence. Another sentence which is what? Simple past tense. When we went to his home is the simple past tense sentence. Okay. See the next example. We relaxed while they were working. The countrymen were resting at home and the soldiers were fighting at the border. See, you can notice from the sentence 1 above that when connects the sentences in past tense, whereas while connects the sentence in past continuous tense. So past continuous tense is used to express an action that was continuing at some time in the past. Okay. Next one is how to make a negative structure of sentence in the past continuous tense. Subject plus was or were plus not plus verb 1 plus ing plus object. See the example. Arohi was not following the traffic rules. Here Arohi is the subject, was plus not plus verb 1 plus ing. Follow is the verb 1. Ing following the traffic rules. What is that? Object. Next one is interrogative structure. How to make interrogative structure. Was or were plus subject plus verb 1 plus ing plus o plus question mark. See the example. Was Aruhi following the traffic rules? So these are the things you have to follow to make negative structure or interrogative structure sentences in past continuous tense. Next one is past perfect tense. Past perfect tense is used only when we are talking about two actions in past that took place one after another. The action that happened first is expressed in past perfect tense and the one that followed is expressed in simple past tense. Look at the example number 1. The students had vacated the exam hall before the invigilator got there. See that the first action indicate that past perfect tense. The students had vacated the exam hall is the past perfect tense. And the second one is before the invigilator got there. This indicates that simple past tense. See the next example. The rainbow had disappeared before she came out in the balcony to see it. So here the action, the first action indicates that past perfect tense. The rainbow had disappeared is the past perfect tense. Okay. Then before she came out in the balcony to see it is the second action. which indicates the simple past tense. The next example is the program started after the chief guest had inaugurated the hall. See, the first one is the program started after. That is the second action here because it indicates that simple past tense. The chief guest had inaugurated the hall is the first action that indicates past perfect tense. See the next one, how to form the negative structure in past perfect tense. So subject plus had plus not plus verb 1 plus object is needed. I had not started my lunch before you came. So see here in this sentence two action has done. First action is I had not started my lunch. This is the first action and second action is before you came is the second action. Here first action indicates the past perfect tense and the second action indicate the simple past tense. Okay. Here they had structured the sentence in the negative form. So subject plus had plus not plus verb 1 plus object. Okay. Next one is interrogative structure. Had plus subject plus verb 3 plus object plus question mark. Here verb 3 is the past participle word. Okay. Verb. You see the example, had I started my lunch before you came. So what is past perfect tense? Past perfect tense is used to express an action that had been completed before another action started. Okay. See the next one is past perfect continuous tense. So it is used for actions that started at certain time in the past and ended after some period in past only. Okay, see the example. They had been meeting for many years before they got married. See the next sentence. Mr. Roy had been writing poetry for 12 years before he started writing film stories. See, these two incidents are there. Two past things are there. First one is what? Mr. Roy had been writing poetry for 12 years and after that before he started writing film stories. Okay, see the next example. Yesterday Alia had been reading the newspaper since 7 a.m. So the past perfect continuous tense is used to express the continuity of an action at a given point in the past. Okay, see the next one, how to form negative structure. Okay, subject plus had plus not plus been plus verb 1 plus ing plus object. So first example is we had not been watching KBC for 2 years before we got a color TV. See the next one is interrogative structure. How to form that interrogative structure? Had plus subject plus been plus verb 1 plus ing plus object plus question mark. Had we been watching KBC for 2 years? So grammar portion is very important for this chapter, so you need to check out that. The next one is Unit 2 Prose Tsunami. In the name itself, you can identify that what is the story about. Yeah, it's about a tsunami. She is the author for this prose, The Tsunami. Sonali Dharnekala was born in 1964 at Colombo in Sri Lanka. She is a Sri Lankan memoirist and economist. She studied economics at Cambridge University and has a doctorate from the University of Oxford. She is on the faculty of Department of Economics at SOAS, University of London, and is a research scholar at Columbia University in New York City. She lives in New York City and London. She lost her two sons' husband, parents, best friend, and her best friend's mother in the Indian Ocean tsunami. The tsunami carried her 2 miles inland and she was able to survive by clinging to a tree branch. Now let's move on to the story. A tsunami is a long, high sea wave was caused by an earthquake or other disturbance. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and the tsunami affected Thailand and parts of India such as the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and the Tamil Nadu coast. The earthquake was the third largest ever recorded. The lesson shares a few accounts of people who used their wits and fortunately survived it courageously.
This prose is divided into three parts. Each part deals with how a few people inspired others to help each other in difficult times when the tsunami hit different parts of the world. First part consists of four stories of people who faced the deadly tsunami on December 26, 2004. It discusses how the lives of different people who hailed from the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago were impacted by the effect of the dreadful tsunami. In the first story, Ignatius was a manager of a cooperative society in Kachal. His wife woke him up at 6 a.m. when she could sense a few tremors. However, it was not just a simple earthquake, it was the sea rising. A tsunami had struck that place. The waves were so huge that it swept away his family, including his wife, children, father in law, and brother in law. In the second story of part 2, a policeman named Sanjeev saved his family members, comprising his wife and his baby daughter, from the dangerous waves. However, he drowned while trying to rescue the guest house cook John's wife as the huge waves washed both of them away. The third incident of part 1 is about a 13-year-old girl, Meghna, who was swept away by the waves along with her parents and many other people. She was floating in the sea holding a wooden plank and was brought to shore by a wave. Although she was saved, she was completely dazzled as she walked on the seashore. The fourth story of part 1 is about Almas Javed, a 10-year-old girl. Her father had noticed that the seawater was receding after their tremors. He realized this was the sign of a bigger danger, so he warned everyone to take shelter in a safer place. While he was helping others, a huge wave came and washed away Alma's father, along with her grandfather. Slowly, her entire family was swept away, while Almas had climbed on a floating wooden log and fainted. When she woke up, she found herself in a hospital in Kamarta. She was so traumatized that she never talked about the incident with anyone. This is the gist of the prose tsunami part 1. Now let me explain about the four incidents happened in part 1 in detailed manner. Children, I already told about this chapter classified into three parts. The first part consists of four incidents during tsunami. Now let's see the first incident. The lesson begins with the narratives of people in the Andaman and Nicobar group of islands when it was hit by a tsunami on December 26, 2004. First is the account of a manager of the cooperative society in Kachal, one of the islands at Nicobar. His name was Ignatius. At around 6 in the morning, his wife felt an earthquake and she woke him up immediately. Ignatius kept the television set on the floor to prevent it from breaking by falling off the table. Then they immediately evacuated the house. Then the entire family rushed out of their house. However, as the tremors of the earthquake stopped, they were shocked to see the sea levels rising. They were utterly confused, not knowing what was happening. In this confusion, they started to run in a chaotic fashion. Half of his family members ran in one direction and others ran in the opposite direction. He never saw his wife, her father, brother, and his two children ever again. Perhaps they were swept away and were now dead. Luckily, his three children that accompanied him were saved. Now let's see the another incident. Second incident is about Sanjeev. Sanjeev was a policeman in the Kachal Island of the Nicobar group of islands. He managed to save himself, his wife, and his baby daughter from the waves. However, after he jumped into the sea, hearing the guest house cook John's wife screaming. He failed to save either the cook's wife or himself. Both of them got drowned in the gush of the waves. Next incident about Meghna. 13-year-old Meghna was swept away along with her parents and 77 other people. However, she kept floating in the sea for 2 days. For 2 days, she held on to a wooden door which kept her afloat and saved her. During these 2 days, several times she saw the rescue helicopters, but they couldn't see her. Later, she was brought to the shore by another very strong wave. Meghna was just 13 when she had to go through the pain of having lost her parents. 10 years old Almas Javed had lost both her parents as well as her grandfather. The last and the fourth incident of the first part is about Almas Javed. 10-year-old Almas Javed's father owned a petrol pump in Port Blair. There she studied at Carmel Convent. The family had come to her mother's home in the Nan Island, an island in the central part of the Nicobar Islands, to celebrate Christmas. On the day of the disaster, the whole family was sleeping when tremors came early in the morning. It was only when Alma's father saw the sea water move back. He anticipated that it would come back with an unusually great force. He immediately woke everyone up and hurried them to a secure place out of harm's way. As they ran out of harm's way, Alma's grandfather got hit by something and he fell down. In an attempt to give him a hand, Alma's father ran towards him. As the first enormous wave came, it took both of them with it. On the other hand, Alma's mother and aunts held on to the leaves of a coconut tree, calling for her. A strong wave came and took them with it too, as it uprooted the tree out of the ground. Almas climbed on a log of wood she saw before she fainted. As she regained consciousness, she found herself in a hospital in Kamorta, an island in Nicobar. The girl was brought to Port Blair and she is deeply shocked by the incident. She got distrusted to the extent that she did not want to discuss the episode with anyone. Children, that's all about the part 1, 4 incidents. Now let's move on to the word meaning for the part 1. See, the first one is tremor. Tremor means what? A slight shake. Earth tremors. The earth shake during an earthquake. Okay. Next one is chaos. Complete disorder or confusion. Next one is guest house. A private house offering accommodation to paying guests. The next one is relief helicopters. Helicopters bringing help to people. Next one is daze, a state of stunned confusion or bewilderment. Next one is Port Blair. Port Blair is the capital city of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, a union territory of India in the Bay of Bengal. Next one is Non-Kaveri Island, an island in the central part of the Nicobar Islands. Next one is recede, move back from where it was. Kamarta, one of the Nicobar Islands.
The last one is traumatized, greatly shocked and distressed. That's all about the part 1. We have already discussed about the part 1 of this chapter, and now we are going to see about the second part and third part of this chapter, Tsunami.
First, I will tell the theme of the story. Part 2 is the story about a young British schoolgirl named Tilly Smith who had visited the Phuket beach in Thailand with her family to celebrate Christmas. On 26th December 2004, she and her entire family were on the beach. She and her mother noticed that the sea waves were slowly raising. It had started to foam and was making whirlpools. Although Her mother was not much worried about the signs Tilly could sense something was not right. Tilly remembered that her geography teacher had once mentioned that tsunamis can be caused by earthquakes, violent tremors, volcanoes, and landslides. She raised an alarm that the deadly waves were the signs of a tsunami. She informed her family and many people on the beach so that they could return to the hotel as soon as possible. Luckily, the hotel that Tilly's family was residing in could withstand the tsunami's impact and they were all saved from the disaster. This is the theme of the story, second part. Now I'll explain the part 2 of this chapter, Tsunami, in detailed manner. Tsunami hit areas of Thailand as well. The story is about the Smith family who came to southern Thailand from southeast England to celebrate Christmas at a beach resort. Penny and Colin Smith had two daughters. Tilly Smith, a 10-year-old schoolgirl, and the other one was 7 years old. On the day of December 26, 2004, they had already experienced an earthquake in the morning. Now the tsunami was on its way. Penny Colin remembers seeing the water swelling as it kept coming in and making the beach smaller. She says she did not understand what was happening. Tilly, on the other hand, knew that something was not wrong. She could recollect what she had studied in her geography class back in England 2 weeks before she came to England for a vacation. As she saw the sea water rising and forming whirlpools, she recalled what she had seen in her class. It was a video of a tsunami that had hit the Hawaiian Islands in 1946. The teacher also told them causes of tsunamis, which can be earthquakes, volcanoes, and landslides. As soon as she realized what was happening, she started shouting at her family to get away from the beach. Her mother later said that she was referring to some earthquake under the sea, and she got terrified and uncontrollable. Penny said she did not know what a tsunami was, but seeing her daughter so terrified, she could anticipate that the situation was grave. Tilly's parents took their daughters to the hotel's swimming pool to get away from the beach. A number of tourists also followed them. Then they saw great waves coming after them as if it were the whole sea that had come out. Penny screamed for everyone to run out of danger's way. They took shelter on the third floor. The hotel building survived 3 tsunami waves. She further added that they wouldn't have been able to come out alive had they been at the beach. The Smith family later got the chance of meeting other tourists who had lost their entire families during the tsunami. All credit to Tilly and her geography lesson that they were forewarned. Tilly later retold the incident to her classmates in England. That's all about the part 2. Now let's move on to the third part. Third part is about the animal sense. Third part of the unit mentions the sixth sense of animals in identifying disastrous natural calamities. Many animals, both domestic and wild, could sense the coming of the tsunami during December 2004. And they rushed into their shelters and were hesitant to come out of their homes. Around 150,000 people lost their lives in a dozen countries, while in comparison only a few animals died in the disaster. The Yala National Park, located in Sri Lanka, is home to a huge variety of animals and birds. Almost 60 visitors died while only 2 animals' carcasses were found.
Also, a few park people had observed that three elephants were running away from the Patnangala beach an hour before the tsunami struck it. In another incident, a Sri Lankan gentleman who lived near the Galle coast had two dogs who refused to go for a walk on the beach. This was indeed a warning signal for them and their master, who were saved from the massive impact of the tsunami. This is the theme of the story, third part, Tsunami. Now I'll explain the third part in detail. It is believed that prior to the gigantic waves entering the coast of India and Sri Lanka, wild and domestic animals knew what was ahead. This is because they ran out of danger's way to somewhere safe. A few eyewitnesses gave a first hand description of how elephants ran for higher ground as they screamed. Flamingos, too, left their low lying breeding grounds. Zoo animals ran into their shelters, and no amount of temptation was able to bring them out. Even dogs refused to go outdoors. It is well known among people that animals were intuitive towards the earth's shaking. Some experts are of the opinion that they can hear or feel earth's vibration in advance because they possess enhanced acute hearing abilities. That is why they can perceive an approaching disaster a lot earlier than humans. It is quite obvious that we cannot say surely that animals are intuitive and can sense the disaster early on, but the evidence quite point towards it. Fact says that gigantic waves on the Indian Ocean took 150,000 human lives, but not many animals were reported dead. At India's Cuddalore coast, where the waves took the lives of around 1,000 people, animals like buffaloes, goats, and dogs were recovered unharmed. On the other hand, in Yala National Park in Sri Lanka, 60 visitors got taken away by the water while no animals were harmed except two water buffaloes. A point to be noted here is that Yala National Park serves as a home to a large number of animals like elephants, leopards, and around 130 species of birds. In fact, people present at the Yala National Park reported seeing three elephants run away from the Patnangala beach at least an hour before the waves came in. In another incident, a Sri Lankan gentleman who lived near the Galle coast had two dogs who refused to go for a walk on the beach. This was indeed a warning signal for them and their master, who were saved from the massive impact of the tsunami. Dear children, the tsunami teaches a lesson to students that a tsunami is a natural disaster that causes massive destruction and immense loss to life and property. In each story, we learned about hard life lessons and reassuring details of determination, courage, resilience, and survival. One should exhibit acts of courage, compassion, and responsibility in the tough struggle of endurance and restoration. That's all about this chapter, children. Now let's move on to the word meanings. First one is resort, a place where people go on holiday. Next one is Samudra, it is a large island. Next one is whirlpool. See the picture? A quickly rotating mass of water in a river or sea into which objects may be drawn, typically caused by the meeting of conflicting currents. Next one is hysterical, affected by or deriving from uncontrolled emotion. When you are hysterical, you shout, laugh, or cry in a wild, excited way without any control over yourself. The next one is
Refuge. Refuge means shelter or protection from danger. Next one is withstood, endured without collapsing. Next one is surge. Surge means force, momentum. Next one is slammed, hit something with great force. Next one is fled. Fled means run away from a place or situation of danger. The next one is eyewitness, a person who has seen something happen and can give a first-hand description of it. Enticed. Enticed means attract, or else tempt by offering pleasure or advantage. The next one is sixth sense. Sixth sense means a supposed intuitive faculty giving awareness not explicable in terms of normal perception. Next one is acute hearing. Acute hearing means reacting readily to stimuli or impressions, sensitive. Next one is perished. Die especially in a violent or sudden way. Last one is carcasses, the dead body of an animal. That's all about this chapter.
The ant and the cricket. Okay. This poem has adapted from Aesop. Aesop was a Greek fabulist and storyteller credited with a number of fables, now collectively known as Aesop fables. Now let's see the theme of the poem. Then I will explain the stanzas one by one. Okay. In this poem, there are two characters, an ant and a cricket. The cricket sings songs and dances during the summer and spring season. Okay. He enjoys his life and never cares for the future. He has not stored any food for the winter season. So, when the winters arrived, he had nothing to eat. He was dying of hunger. So he went to the ant and asked to lend him some food. He also requested shelter at the ant's home. However, the ant refused to help him and told him to go out of his house. The poet conveys a beautiful message that we should think about our future and plan things accordingly. Okay, if we are aware about our future needs, then we should start working towards it at the earliest. We should not be careless and should not neglect important things. Okay, this is the theme of the poem. This is the first stanza. Now I'll read this first stanza. A silly young cricket accustomed to sing through the warm, sunny months of gay summer and spring began to complain when he found that at home his cupboard was empty and winter was come. Not a crumb to be found. On the snow-covered ground, not a flower could he see. Not a leaf on a tree. Oh, what will become, says the cricket, of me? See, this stanza is explaining about there was a young and silly cricket. He used to spend all his time in singing in the warm summer and spring months. Okay, not realizing that these months were also meant for work, because with the arrival of winter, finding food would become difficult. Therefore, summer and spring were meant for storing food also. But the cricket spent all the time during the happy months, and now his cupboards were entirely empty. The cricket realizes that the ground was covered with snow and there was not even a crumb to be found, nor could he see any flowers or leaves on the trees. There was perpetually nothing to eat within the house or outside. He became disseparate, not knowing what to eat and how to survey. What will become of me? So the cricket didn't have anything to eat, and he is asking himself then what to eat and how to survey. What to eat and how to survey. What will become of me? Like that, he is asking himself the question. Now look at the second stanza. At last, by starvation and famine made bold, all dripping with wet and all trembling with cold, away he set off to a miserly ant, to see if, to keep him alive, he would grant him shelter from rain and a mouthful of grain. He wished only to borrow, he would repay it tomorrow. If not, he must die of starvation and sorrow. Now let's see the explanation. The cricket was starving due to famine, hunger, and no resources to sustain himself during the cold months of winter. The winter had taken a toll of his health. He also had no shelter. He therefore set out to meet a miserly ant, hoping that the ant may help him with something that would keep him alive. Then the cricket approaches the ant to seek his help for shelter. The rains made it difficult for the cricket to protect himself from the wet surroundings. He also needed some grain or food to combat hunger and starvation. He informed the ant that whatever help he would take, he would repay it soon, else his end had come. He would die of starvation. So what happened to the cricket? Now he was very hunger to eat food, and because of starvation, he think himself that he would die. See the next stanza. Says the ant to the cricket, I am your servant and friend. But we ants never borrow, we ants never lend. But tell me, dear cricket, did you lay nothing by? When the weather was warm, quoth the cricket, not I. My heart was so light that I sang day and night. For all nature looked gay. You sang, sir. You say, go then, says the ant, and dance winter away. In this stanza, the ant feels sorry for the cricket, but he tells cricket that the ants never borrow or lend. Okay, perhaps that this is the reason that the ants are self-sufficient and need not go begging. The ant asked the cricket if he didn't put aside anything in storage for the winter when there is nothing much to be found. The cricket answered in the negative. The ant was quite surprised and shocked. The cricket tells the ant that he was so happy during the happy months of summer that he sang day and night. He was so happy and the nature looked so pleasant that he forgot all about the winter or the difficult times. Hearing this, the ant told him that now he should spend the winter singing and dancing too. The ant tells the cricket that there is no point crying over spilt milk. See the ant replying to the cricket, this is the winter season. This time also you can spend your time to sing and dance. Then why you are coming to get food from me? Why you are asking food from me like this? The ant was telling to the cricket. Okay. Now let's see the next stanza. See the next stanza. Thus ending, he hastily lifted the wicket and out of the door turned the poor little cricket. Folks call this a fable. I will warrant it true. Some crickets have 4 legs and some have 2. The last stanza explains that the ant gets irritated and asks the cricket to leave. Those who do not wish to help themselves cannot be saved by others. So the poet in the last the final couplet of the poem tells his readers that though this tale is believed to be a fable, it is no less than truth. The poet calls this the truth because what is the true for the 4-legged cricket is also true for the 2-legged humans. See, the poet ends the poem with the moral that some human beings, that 2 legs for 2 legs person. Some human beings are like the cricket. Cricket has 4 legs. So who save nothing for the bad weather, and therefore the tale is not a fable but the truth. The poet says that people call this a story, but it happens in reality. Many humans spend their lives similar to the cricket and do not prepare for their future. Now let's see the summary of this poem. The silly young cricket was fun-loving. He loved merry-making. He used to sing all through the pleasant sunny months of summer and spring. He was short-sighted. He did not bother to store food for the rainy season and cold winter. When the earth was covered with ice and snow, he found that he had nothing to eat. There were no flowers and no leaves on the trees. He grew nervous. Starvation could be seen over his face. Wet with the rain and shivering with cold, the hungry cricket went to an ant to get shelter and food. He made it clear that he would return the borrowed grain the next day. The miserly ant said humbly that he was the servant and friend of the cricket. But as a matter of principle, the ants neither borrow nor lend. He asked why he never bothered to store something for the rainy day. The cricket admitted that he had been careless and foolish. He enjoyed the beauties of summer and sang merrily. The ant then told him bluntly to go and dance all winter. He turned the poor cricket out. Now let's see the moral for this poem. The story teaches us that we shall not behave like cricket. We shall always prepare for the future, so that in difficult times we do not have to beg to others for help. It also teaches us that we shall also be helpful to others, unlike the ant. Now let's discuss about the difficult words with the meanings in this poem. Okay, first word is accustomed. Accustomed means what? Habitual or usual. The next one is crumb. Crumb means what? A small piece of bread, biscuit, etc. Then third one is gay. Gay means bright or vibrant. Then fourth one is dance the winter away. Spend time dancing during the winter. The next one is dripping. Dripping means so wet as to shed drops of liquid. Famine, scarcity of food. Folks. Folks means people in general. Next one is hastily. Hastily means urgently or quickly. The next one is miserly. A person who hoards wealth and spends as little money as possible. Next one is quoth. Quoth means said. Okay. Starvation, suffering or death due to lack of food. wicket, an opening in a door or gate or wall. Okay, children, I will post this picture as a PDF file. Okay, don't worry. I hope you would get clear understanding about this poem, The Ant and the Cricket. Thank you.
If you like this video, subscribe this channel and click the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Thank you.